Welcome to the Freakishly Amazing Transmission, the heaviest show on the internet. This week's guest needs little introduction, but just in case you've been living under a rock or perhaps a cabin in the forest somewhere for the last 30 years, this is Dan the Beast Severn, an amateur and pro wrestler, MMA fighter with 120 whopping cage fights. One of the most seasoned and handsome to ever do it in the hard knuckle sport.
I love it.
So, welcome to the show, Dan. How are you, man?
I was wondering how you're going to do an intro what was a program known as Freakishly Amazing.
Well, we got a freakishly handsome specimen on our hands this week. So
I was so when they start talking about the credentials, I'll simply say, look at the moneymaker. That should say it all. I mean, to have that many cage bouts, that many victories, and then not to look like you've ever been touched in the first place. That's a pretty good thumbs up there.
That is amazing. You know, one thing I noticed when I was looking at a picture of yours to put it on a promo for the show, I noticed you got probably thousands of amateur wrestling bouts and pro wrestling matches, 120 cage fights. You don't have a cauliflowered ear.
Yes, there's this device that they came up with probably 45, 50 years, probably even longer, called headgear, and I wear them. I probably have, I'll bet you, at least 4 or 5 pair of headgear. Some of them probably 35 to 40 years old, and they still function fine. They would be Smithsonian Museum would probably want to have them as antiques and relics because they have been refined over the years, but refinement doesn't necessarily mean that they're any better. The older ones actually are much better because new ones are all very soft, pliable plastic, and guys still get headgear wearing the newer stuff as opposed to the others actually had like a kind of a very lightweight, but like a aluminum plate of metal. And so they were a lot more effective.
Well, I imagine that once you completely retire and you're said and done with everything, you ought to donate a pair of your oldest ones to a Wrestling Hall of Fame museum somewhere.
I might do that, but that might be a long way off yet.
Yeah. So you've been retired for a couple of years now. Why don't you tell us about that? How's retirement going?
And then I will just simply say, only have retired from mixed martial arts. Lots of people think that I'm sitting in my rocking chair out on the front porch. No, that is furthest from my thoughts right now. I was looking to retire my last few years of mixed martial arts. I wanted one more kind of a big match to go out on, something to really prepare for and go out on. And I reached out to 3 primary individuals, and it was right in order with Mark Coleman, Ken Shamrock, and Hoist Gracie. If I could have had my final 3 matches one more time in the cage, that would have been right in the order right there. I reached out to their groups. They basically agreed, but just seemed like never could get anything going, and I finally get to that point. They just finally put out a press release. Probably went out in December of 2012, and I simply said that by the end of 2013, that I was going to be hanging up the mixed martial arts boots at that point in time. So any promoters or promotions that were thinking about utilizing me, it better happen somewhere in the course of 2012 there. So I had lots of people contact me, lots of people talking a good thing. Probably one of my slowest years ever was my final year of doing matches.
Oh, okay. So now you said that strictly just mixed martial arts is what you're retired from. Do you have any upcoming events, seminars, wrestling events?
All of the above, and honestly, just for listeners' sake, I don't like to bore them with all the details of all these different Twitter this and Facebook that. I mean, my website, dansevern.com, has all that stuff listed. So if people have any interest, they just go see what I'm up to. Just rest assured that there is a reason why I've been known as the busiest man in the cage fighting world and the busiest man in the professional wrestling world. I still do professional wrestling matches. I actually did my very first professional submission grappling match just last year as well. So I've got different groups contacting me, but I've given up. I actually had a group that contacted me for September 26th, and offered up 3 opponents here right now. But it's kind of like I'm giving up standard 2 decades or more of age. And I'm like going, there's got to be a way. Like in golf, you know how you can handicap a guy by a couple strokes? There should be a way here in mixed martial arts you can handicap some of my opponents or at least give me some more advantage points or somehow walk into these matches, because just by giving up minimum of 2+ decades, that's got to be worth something.
How would you go about doing that in your imagination?
I thought I'd just throw it out there to some type of a form that maybe someone with a brighter mind might be able to figure this one out. I've pondered it at different points, but nothing of any real results have come from it.
Okay. So you've done, kind of rewinding a little bit, you've won dozens of amateur wrestling and MMA titles across the globe. You started competing in 1969.
Well, let me stop you right there. Dozens? No.
Hundreds?
I have 100+.
Oh, wow.
State, national, and/or international titles and/or records. There's nobody close to me. Nobody.
Okay,
and that is different aspects of whether it be for amateur wrestling, and even amateur wrestling falls into either freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, and folk style. The United States is the only country that does folk style. The rest of the world does either freestyle or Greco-Roman. And then what I did in the wacky world of professional wrestling, and then the cage fighting world. So that I always like to educate people. Just look at that. That there is I'm a very unique individual.
Yeah, I know that is my bad. I know you do have hundreds of titles, which kind of leads me, it kind of lends more credence to my final part of the question. Now, you've got a massive horizon of titles and belts and accomplishments. Which was your greatest? Do you have a singular accomplishment that you kind of fondly look back on as being a pinnacle or a point in your career?
No. Each career has had what I refer to as moments in time, where these were the couple highlight moments in my MMA career. These are the couple highlight moments in my professional wrestling career thus far, and these were a couple of the highlight moments in my amateur wrestling career. So,
see,
like that, I've been in the process of writing a book for probably 15 years. Yeah. The problem is I have too much content. I have well over 1,000 pages, but on one page you'll just see all these little mini paragraphs, and each represents a story to me. So there might be just say 4 or 5 sentences that'll say something like Leipzig, East Germany, Russian negotiations, lots of vodka, and those 3 or 4 lines represents probably a 15-20 page story. Right. Because there isn't an East Germany anymore, and yet I was there 3 different times. I have seen the Berlin Wall. Ironically, I did an interview with a German radio group, whatever, newscast group or whatever, they called me up, and in the course of the conversation, they're like, Mr. Severn, have you ever been to Germany? I go, well, I says, I've been to East and I have been to West, but I have never been to just Germany. And they're like, what? And I go, well, let me explain. I had to fly into West Germany, and we trained there for a little bit, part of a U.S. wrestling team, and then we had to cross over the border into East Germany. I said, so yes, I've been in West Germany, and I've been into East Germany 3 different times, but I have never been to just Germany. And they're like going, wow. But
that is crazy. That's
well, the first time I went to Russia, it was not known as Russia. It was the Soviet Union. Cold War. So again, it's just another way of saying, yeah, Dan Severn has been around a long time.
Well, see, you're no stranger to the UWF International. And I usually ask people the same question. I've asked Paul Varlins, Manny Arborough, Akebono, everybody. Do you have any crazy stories from Japan?
Well, sure. I mean, it's...
I'm fascinated personally with Japan.
I'm trying to think when I can actually speak about that. Too.
Oh, no, our shows usually are rated, Dan. You got free reign here.
I know, but I mean, I may have to watch out. I never know if one of my children might be listening to something like this. But I can't have something coming back against Dad here, 30 some odd years later now. But being involved, the UWFI was a very interesting organization because it was a blend of of real and of fantasy. And I don't know if
shoots.
A combination of shoots and work stuff.
Yeah.
And all I know is when I was first brought over, I was put in the undercard. And so I'm walking out into some straight shoots. And then they're realizing, holy shit, we need to get this guy out. He's not falling down the way that we was hoping that he would. And then they quickly had to move me into the second half of the card, to where now I'm realizing, oh, so this is how the program goes. Although while watching some of the programs or being there, I kept thinking, boy, I'm watching some of these matches and some of the stuff is just not looking authentic to me.
Yeah. Does that blend of the shoot and and then the pro, does that ever cross over poorly as far as like drama backstage and real fights breaking out?
Well, I mean, it's just speaking about strictly professional wrestling. I mean, I've been on different cards where all of a sudden you're there and the booker's coming out there and now they're telling you what he wants to happen in tonight's show. And to me, it's like now you have the clash of personalities, because you got to realize, professional wrestling, it's that world of fantasy. And some of these guys live in that world of fantasy for so long, they don't know where fantasy ends and reality begins, and they start believing all of that crap. And and you see people start to bow up their back and stuff like this, and like, why do I have to go out there and do the job, and this guy can't carry my jock strap, and blah blah blah, and this that, and you will see in the course of matches, instead of pulling a punch, they literally will smack the shit out of somebody out there, and just to see how they're going to react to it, how much it rattled their cage. So it's I've seen that in I'll say both industries. I've seen it. I've seen matches that I questioned for being supposed to be shoots, and I really questioned them a great deal, and matches that were works that were better shoots than what the shoots were.
Yeah. So can you tell me exactly how you got involved in entering into UFC number 4? What was the series of events in '94 that led you to that?
Well, again, kind of a unique circumstances. A buddy of mine, I'll just give you the highlights. A buddy of mine happened to be watching the first 2 UFCs, and he recorded them on an old VHS tape. I did not even know it existed. Again, to educate people, when pay-per-views first came on scene, they weren't just abundant just to anybody. Oh, if it came into a state like Michigan, it was only going to be played in 3 or 4 of the major cities that it might have been playing in Detroit, Lansing, or Flint, or Saginaw, and that'd be about the only major areas that the pay-per-view is going to hit. Now people can watch pay-per-views from the confines of their own home, off of their laptop, or whatever now, because of technology continues to advance. So anyway, my buddy shows me this old VHS tape, and I'm seeing people getting soccer kicked in the face. I'm seeing teeth flying out, and I kind of look at my buddy and I go, these are not exactly skills that I possess. And he says, look at this one little guy here doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Of course, he was referring to Royce Gracie. And, I had never really been exposed to Jiu-Jitsu before, and I said, well, it kind of looks like wrestling to me. I figure if the guy is close enough to throw down upon me, I either step back out of his range, or I close the distance before he gets any kind of velocity on anything. And that little tidbit right there served me so well for basically just shy of 2 decades. And it's I'll just say that's how it all came about. I happened to I filled out an application. Nobody called me back. I was told that they were receiving 300 applications on a daily basis. I happened to be on a professional wrestling card. I had already been a professional wrestler as of the 1992 Olympics. And, again, 1994 was my first exposure to mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Not mixed martial arts. I should say exposed to the company Ultimate Fighting Championships, NHB, no holds barred. Because most of your listeners, they're familiar with the terms MMA or mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts has approximately 37 rules. Part of those rules are weight classes, time periods, you fight one athlete in a given evening, and you wear gloves and stuff like that. Back in that old NHB no holds barred era, there were only 2 rules in the game. Those being, do not bite your opponent, do not stick fingers in their eye sockets. End of the rule.
Yeah.
No weight classes, no time periods, bare knuckled action, and 8-man tournament in the same 2-hour pay-per-view that still plays to this day. You had to face 3 opponents and finish them off underneath that same 2-hour pay-per-view. So I happened to be going out on a professional card to somewhere around the Los Angeles area. A phone call, multiple phone calls were made to Art Davey. He was one of the owners of the Ultimate Championship at that time. He came out, watched me in my professional wrestling match right there, and then as I was finishing the match and just was being introduced to him, the very first thing I think he ever said to me was, "You do realize what we do is real, don't you?" So I not here to burst anyone's bubble there about professional wrestling there, of course, but one is real and one is not. Although no professional wrestler ever likes to hear the word fake, because to be picked up and to be bodily slammed, to be hit with chairs, to do all the things that you're doing, your body is being traumatized, just being impacted. And I always tell people, because when I travel, I have 4 belts. That I travel with 3 UFC belts and the NWA belt for the National Wrestling Alliance Professional Wrestling Organization. And they all know what the UFC belts are. And then when they see the one that says, wrestling, they're like, "Well, what kind of wrestling?" And I'll say it's like what you see on television, NWA, TNA, the WWE, that type of stuff. And like, oh, then they'll say the fake stuff. I go, well, don't say that. I said, you obviously understand these 3 UFC belts. I go, why is it I've been hurt far worse in my professional wrestling career than I have been in all of my cage fights combined? And they look at me and they think, oh, that's hard to even fathom. And that is the truth. I have been hurt far worse. I know I kind of went away from your question, but the thing was, I had a conversation with Art Davey. Basically, I just think that at least I got in front of him, and UFC 4 was coming around. All I know is I ended up getting a phone call that I was in, but I'm more of a last-minute phone call, so I think that somebody must have got hurt or somebody pulled out, and they were in need of that 8th man, and that's basically how I got in.
And you went in right there and started tossing around Anthony Macias and shocked the world.
Well, here's my training camp. I literally, there should be a movie about what I did in my preparation, because I've always been a busy person. I've been living out of a planner since my junior year in high school. And all I know is that they give me a phone call. I'm thinking, well, yeah, I am free on that particular weekend, but not much before that. I only trained for 5 days, and an hour and a half a day. Now, I just saw a couple emails that came into my inbox earlier today, and they're already talking about January UFC cards that are coming up. And I think, wow, wouldn't it have been nice to have known about your opponent that far in advance? That you have studied and you could prepare. But I just tell people, well, that's when opportunity presented myself. I trained for 5 days, an hour and a half a day. I never trained a single legitimate submission. I never trained a single strike. I had a professional wrestling ring to train in. Unlike, to educate people, unlike today, you can go into almost any community and you will find a cage or a section of a cage that some gym is advertising as mixed martial arts training. But at that time, back in 1994, there was only one cage, and it was owned by the UFC. So a professional wrestling ring was the closest thing that could come to a cage. 3 workout partners with 1 old pair of boxing gloves that they rotated. Once you got tired, you swapped them off and gave them to your buddy Chris there, and then he came up swinging and kicking and trying to do whatever submissions he could. And then once he got tired, he swapped them over to the next guy, and basically I just stayed up there the entire time and was just trying not to get hit. Closing the distance, taking them down, just using my amateur wrestling skills and just turning moves illegal, making them scream or squawk, and that was it. So literally, when I showed up to that very first UFC, they were, I'm filling out these forms, and they're asking me questions like, "Oh, what is your martial art?" And I simply said, "I'm an American wrestler." And he looked at me like, "Well, what's that good for you?" I go, "Not sure. I'm kind of making this up as I go. Just watch." that was it. Like I said, my very first match with Anthony Macias, people are going, "Oh my God!" They just thought I was going to just break his neck, break his back because of what I was doing. But these were amateur wrestling moves that were allowed in freestyle wrestling.
Yeah.
But I mean, I folded him up so hard on that toss that his own knee struck him in his own forehead and split his own forehead open. Now that's folded up pretty good.
Yeah, that's funny. And so, of course, you went on, to do well in that tournament, win several super fight title, go on to just become, one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. Around that same time, though, I think actually before you're finished with the UFC, you were part of the pack from the NWA that went into the WWF at the time, right?
Yes.
And then you started a career there, which was a great career. I have a couple of points on that. Was the WWE asking you to tattoo 666 on your head and becoming a disciple of The Undertaker's disrespectful in your opinion?
Oh, sure was. When I, the cycle of a professional wrestler is you go from the good guy, the baby face, to the bad guy in the heel, and back again. It's just the evolution of professional wrestling. When Hulk Hogan used to be the good guy, it was all the red and yellow that he wore out there, and then when he was part of the NWO, the old black and white. So I was considered a good guy, just a no-nonsense type of good guy. I wore the same outfits that I wore in in my mixed martial arts career. Yeah. And then, when it went along for so far with doing things. And all of a sudden, I got the creative team come up to me and they're like, we want to put 666 on your forehead. And we want to make you an Undertaker disciple and the whole 9 yards. And I basically brought my hands up like a timeout sign. I make the old whistle noise. I go, "Hey, timeout, guys." I go, "Not going to happen." I said, "I live in small town USA." I go, "I don't want any repercussions against my family, nor my business, nor me." I said, "What you guys don't realize, because you live in this world of fantasy for so long, is that you don't realize the repercussions that would be there."
Right.
So it's, it was kind of interesting. And, like I said, I'll verify that story for you. There's a lot more to it, but that's it in a nutshell.
Now, during your time, I imagine it probably got more intense at that time in the WWE, but you've probably been around it most of your career. It is a real presence. Was there ever any real pressure to take steroids during the course of your career? Because I know you've been all natural, and that's a hallmark of your achievements. Was it ever almost pushed onto you?
No, not really. I would say I probably had more pressure or opportunity during my cage fighting career.
Oh, yeah.
I actually have had a couple of different, I'll call them financial firms, contacted me and said that, we'll take care of all of your bills and stuff like this, just so that you could just train on a full-time basis. A part of this contract is we want you to get with our doctors. At your age, your testosterone levels are probably down to about here, stuff like this. If we just get you on a couple smaller cycles at your size and body weight, we could probably get you up to about 3 1/4. Ripped at about 6% body fat, you'd have about 25-30% more power. I already possess a gift of power. I'd be pulling body parts off of people. I'd be pulling their arm off and just them with the bloody stump. I do a lot of things with kids. Mm-hmm. My number one seminars I still teach is going out and teaching folk style wrestling, but then I teach freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling as it pertains to folk style. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big advocate of trying to motivate and keep kids on a straight and positive type of a path. I always despise that hypocritical athlete that would be going, yo, 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 don't do drugs, stay in school, and then a week later they're busted with a pound of coke or this, that, and the whole 9 yards. I go, do yourself some good. Just don't even do the public service message that you're doing here in the first place, because you're not living it. Why say it? When, as you mentioned before, I do pride myself in the fact that I'm a very unique individual, and for what I did at the time I did. I mean, how many people would have started a cage fighting career at age 37? I was just a couple months before turning 37. That's when I started. I had a 19-year career. Wasn't planning on it. All I was planning on was I'll do one match, see how it goes, or one tournament, I'll see how it goes. Another one, all right, I did the next one. The next one led to the first year, to the 5th year, to the 10th year, it just kept going on until I finally, towards the end, it was like, in every interview that I was being asked, like, well, how much longer do you think you can go? And I'm like, oh, hell, I don't know. I'm not getting hurt.
Yeah.
I'm not getting hit. The moneymaker's still intact. I can actually finish a sentence intellectually, at least in my mind. I said, I'm good to go. I go, there's a lot of people that are 10, 15 years my junior that you would not have this type of conversation with right now. You can just simply tell that the wiring is no longer connected, and these guys are, like I said, 10 or 15 years younger than what I am. What are they going to be like in another 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, I talked to Gary Goodridge, and he seems to be suffering from pugilistic dementia, but yeah, you were able to keep your clean, handsome face going and your strong, powerful mustache. So with how busy you've been, I mean, with co-founding Price of Glory Wrestling there in Michigan, and all the traveling for your different career aspects, I mean, was it ever really hard on the family with your kids and wife?
Oh, yeah.
Were you able to take them along?
No, I mean, the summertime, when they'd be like out of school, I would take different trips with different children. I have 5 kids, and so I my different trips, and just so that it's just them with me, and they'll start to see some of the madness of like Dad getting up at 3 hours, and all they're doing is just waking up just enough to crawl into the back seat with the pillow and the blanket and fall back to sleep. They'll wake up another 3, 4, 5 hours later just because they're hungry or they need to go to the bathroom. and here I just lay down the first, probably 200-300 miles of whatever trip it is that I'm heading off to. And then, but I always blended in something so they could see things, because I want them to realize that there's more to this world than this little community that you were brought into. You went to the junior high here, elementary school there, high school here, but there's more around you. There's opportunity around you. And it's just, setting your goals, pursuing your goals, and trying to making them understand, what does that really mean? Because there's still most people today, most adults today still don't even understand what it means to set a goal and actually how to pursue it. Right. It's because they don't understand the word called sacrifice. Mm-hmm. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too. There's only 24 hours in the day, and it depends on how you use that 24 hours. I ride on probably 6 hours of sleep. Typically is my standard night for me. Mm-hmm. I'll go so long for that, and then I'll have one day where it's like, poof, I go down and I'm a bed bug, or I'm a couch bug or something like this, because I spend a lot more time I can just know that my batteries are low. I need to recharge, and then I go like a madman after that.
Well, I was going to ask, what do you like to do on the rare occasion, it sounds like, when you were able to get away from the ring, the training facility, the traveling, the seminars, everything? What sort of hobbies do you have, Dan?
Hobbies. Wow, interesting you should say that. You may not believe some of these aspects right here, but I, on my property in Coldwater, Michigan, I put in a fruit orchard. Okay. What you can understand is I grew up on a farm. Uh-huh. My father was not a farmer for his livelihood. He would be considered a hobby farmer because he worked in the automotive industry for 38 years. Okay. But I grew up on a 120-acre farm, So crops and animals, I knew also well. I simply knew that that in the morning when I get up, the animals get taken care of before I get taken care of. That's part of my job. I have to get up and I have to go take care of the animals. They need. You like to eat there, Dan? Yes, I do there, Dad. So do the animals. Do you like to drink there, Dan? Yes, I do. So do the animals. So you have to feed and water the animals first. Take care of them. Now you come in the house. You get taken care of and you get ready, and then you head to school. Then even when school gets after, it doesn't matter how much school gets done. You went to your wrestling practice, and it's a lot later. You may have went to a dual meet or something, and it's late in the evening. You still go out and you take care of those animals. Mm-hmm. So it just, I learned. I think my work ethic is what was instilled. What was instilled through my upbringing, and then just you always had chores to do, depending on what time of the year it was. In the spring, you're tilling the soil. You're planting the crops, and then in the fall you're harvesting the crops. I mean, you went by your cycles. But then also, I was involved in 3 sports. I was involved in fall time football, wintertime wrestling, springtime track and field. But the track coach knew that if there was a tournament on a Saturday that fell on the same day as a track meet, the track coach was never going to see me because I dedicated. Really, my time was into wrestling because I simply knew that I was approached by my sophomore year by some college coaches. I thought this might be my opportunity. I had 7 other brothers and sisters. I would have never thought of asking my parents to pay for college for me, which differs from this degeneration society of kids that are growing up right now, where they think that they are entitled to everything. I'm thinking,
entitled.
Who shoved that silver spoon up your ass?
Right.
You're only going to get whatever you go after.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true.
I went off a tangent. I guess that's one of my speeches when I'm out there motivating people.
Oh, no, that's a great speech, though. It's very true, though. It rings so true, and I noticed that, too. I'm only 31 years old, but I already can tell that the generation right behind me that left high school, right behind even me, there's a big difference. So I'm sure that you can see it on a wider scale.
Yeah, my father would probably say the exact same thing, because with each generation come up, the opportunities are more and more and more abundant. Because of the technology. I mean, just I've been keeping track of the things, of the changes that I have seen in my own life here right now. I mean, when I graduated from Arizona State, I was working on a master's program. I had 18 hours into a master's program when I left Arizona State to take a job at Michigan State. Well, I was 2 years ahead of the internet era. So that's where my master's died on the vine. Because once you start a master's, you have so many years to complete it in. Now, and I said that's where my master died on the vine. Whereas today, I could have taken an online course and I could have finished it on up.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like I said, it's changed. And the cell phone, I always tell people, well, the cell phone was not around when I was in college. It was around, but it wasn't cool. It was the size of a walkie-talkie, so you didn't simply slip it in your pocket. It looked like a big old metal lunchbox.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's changed, But then, so I have the style of clothes, bell bottoms, things of that nature. Hell, I probably got bell bottoms in my closet somewhere still.
Well, it's you've had a fantastic career. I mean, I don't know why somebody hasn't made a movie about you. I mean, they made one for Mark Schultz and his story. I want to see a screenplay put out. I want you to write it yourself. I want to see a Dan Severn movie.
It'd be probably too long of a movie. But the part, I'm glad actually brought that up about the Dave Schultz movie, because I did watch that just relatively, probably in the last, I'll say 2.5 weeks. I finally caught the movie Foxcatcher, because I was still competing during that time era. I had been a teammate of both Dave and Mark Schultz on a numerous occasions, so I knew the personalities. I thought the guy who played Dave Schultz did a remarkable job, and I thought the guy that portrayed Mark Schultz did a spot-on job as well.
Oh, yeah, I saw the movie. That's awesome. That's crazy you could relate to that. That must be a pretty unique experience, being able to relate personally like you can to that story.
Yeah, well, there was even a few people from that actually were competitors that were actually in the movie at that time as well. So it was nostalgic to watch that, and I remember when the news was broke to me, it's like, wow, devastating, because I had met John DuPont on a few occasions. Catcher, he and his Fox catchers, some of the other wrestlers were trying to recruit me, but after I made a few phone calls and asked, how was things going there, when they were telling me some of the weird things that were going on, I'm like, well, why are you guys here? Well, I knew why they were there. It was the first time a wrestler had any money being waved in their face, so I knew that these guys would be flocking to it because it was a way for them to be able to train and compete and still keep a roof over their family's head and stuff like that. So I understood why they did it and what they were willing to endure. Just kind of sad how it went full circle like that, though.
Yeah, it is. Well, I want to go ahead and wrap this up. Hold on, real quick. I meant to ask this earlier. Was there ever, this is totally off topic, it was kind of earlier in the interview, was there ever a fighter that you just really enjoyed beating up, like Tank Abbott?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would use the word enjoy. I remember the first time I saw Tank Abbott, I saw him knock out a 400-pound sumo with one strike. Mm-hmm. And when as his opponent lay there, and he's laid there, and his body is convulsing, and it's stiffly on up, and when I lay there helpless that Tank Abbott had the audacity to strike him again as he laid there. Yeah, and then when that happened, I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch. I just told myself, if I should ever have you in the cage, evil will begot a greater evil. I think that's something that most human beings will never understand. And that was when I had him in that cage. I know we went 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. I got hit 3 times in 20 minutes. I think I took a full knee to the face, a reverse elbow to the face, and a reverse headbutt to the face. And some guy counted up. He goes, Stan Severn, he goes, you hit Tank Abbott with 276 right elbow strikes alone. I mean, I went to work. I lost, I think, 8 pounds in 20 minutes just of water weight. Because with those lights, the rule was you have to stay active. Otherwise, you get stood up. And I'm thinking, okay, baby, I just punched in my time clock. I'm going to go to work. I'll keep striking with my right hand until it gets tired, go to my left. If I get tired, start throwing knees. If I get tired, throw headbutts. And when I get tired, just start out all over again.
Now, you beat him very convincingly. You won that tournament. I believe that was the Ultimate. Did it make you mad when he only had a disrespectful comment after the fight and said that he felt like he'd just been raped by Freddie Mercury?
Well, I hope he got raped good then.
Well, you did. I just wanted to hear that.
It was. The sheer fact that when that match was over, yeah. He walked towards the cage door and asked to be let out. I mean, you got to realize the Ultimate was the first time that they had judges. And that's kind of funny. I think myself, as they're waiting for the judges to see, I'm thinking, well, what are the judges going to do? Go thumbs up or thumbs down here right now? I mean, there was no real criteria that was going to put onto it. But Tank went to the cage door before they had rendered their decision, and he wanted to be let out. And John was, calling, Big John was calling him back, and Tank just climbed over the cage and left. Because, I mean, he knew I schooled him.
Him. You did. So, fantastic career, Dan. We honor and respect you, Mr. Severn, and it was a great privilege having you on. If you ever come through Oregon anytime, we here at the show would love to take you out and buy you a steak and some good local beer.
I see. Beer with the beast.
Beer and meat with the beast.
It may go against my medication. You never know.
Okay, well, thanks so much for coming on the show, Dan. Hopefully we'll talk to you again in the future. Good luck on your retirement. Hope you stay busy, shatter that rocking chair, and know that we love you here at the Freakishly Amazing Transmission.
Say what, Sean, Chris, I do appreciate you guys contacting me and being on your Freakishly Amazing show. Check in with me maybe another, 3-4 months on the road, because I rest assured, as I said, I'm working on stuff, and I think some announcements will be ready at that point in time.
We will hit you up again, and I'm
right,
sure the
look forward
fans
to
will
it.
hear from you again. We look forward to it. Dan, have a wonderful day. Thanks again, brother.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Dan.